Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. The notification preview showed a message from Steven with a photo attachment and the words "Can't wait to taste you again tonight." I clicked it without thinking. The photo was my wife of 6 years, naked in our guest bedroom, doing things I'd begged her to do with me for months. We'd been married since we were 25. I thought we were happy. I worked overtime to pay for her nursing school, supported her through every career change, and celebrated every small victory like it was my own. Apparently, I was just funding her education so she could meet doctors to sleep with. I sat in that kitchen for 20 minutes, staring at more messages, months of them. "Your husband is such a loser. Can't believe you're still with him. Leave him already, you know you want to." And her responses, "Soon baby, just need to figure out the money situation first." She walked out in her towel, humming some song, and asked what I wanted for dinner. I handed her the phone without saying a word. Watched her face go white, then red, then that weird gray color people get when they realize their world just ended. "This isn't what it looks like," she started, but I was already walking to our bedroom. "Not to fight, to think." She followed me, talking faster than I'd ever heard her speak. Some story about Steven being just a friend and the photos being old and nothing really happened. I lay down on our bed and stared at the ceiling while she spiraled. The same bed where I'd held her through anxiety attacks about school, where we'd planned our future, where I'd apparently been sleeping alone for months while she was planning my exit strategy with Dr. Steven. That night, I told her I needed space to think. She cried and begged and promised to cut contact with Steven. I nodded and said we'd talk in the morning. Then I waited for her to fall asleep and got to work. First, I copied every message, every photo, every piece of evidence from her phone to mine. Then I checked our bank accounts. She'd been spending money I'd never seen receipts for. Expensive hotels on days she claimed to be working late. Lingerie charges from stores she said she'd never shop at. I spent the next week acting normal while I dismantled our life. Met with a lawyer who specialized in infidelity cases. Opened a new bank account and moved my direct deposit. Found a furnished apartment across town and put down a deposit. The hardest part was pretending nothing had changed. She'd come home from work and talk about her day, probably editing out the parts where she was planning to leave me for a man who made more money. I'd nod and ask follow-up questions like I still cared about her fictional life. Steven worked at the hospital where she'd been doing her clinicals. Married guy with 2 kids and a reputation for sleeping with students, real winner. I looked him up online and found his wife's Facebook. Sweet woman who posted about their family vacations and how proud she was of her husband's work. She deserved to know what kind of man she was married to. On Friday, I left work early and went home while she was at clinical. Packed everything that mattered to me, left the furniture, the decorations, the wedding photos. Took my clothes, my grandmother's watch, and the dog we'd adopted together. She'd been ignoring him for months anyway. I left a printed stack of every message and photo on her pillow. No note, no explanation, just the evidence of what she'd done and who she really was. Then I drove to my new apartment with my dog and blocked her on everything. My phone showed 12 missed calls before I turned it off. She was in the shower. The notification preview showed a message from Steven with a photo attachment and the words "Can't wait to taste you again tonight." She showed up at my office Monday morning, crying in the lobby about how I'd stolen her dog and destroyed her life. Security had to escort her out while she screamed that I was ruining everything over a misunderstanding. My boss asked if I needed time off. I told him I was handling a personal situation and got back to work. The nursing program coordinator called me Tuesday. Apparently, she'd been missing clinicals and failing assignments since I left. Her grades were slipping and she was emotionally unstable during patient interactions. They were considering suspension. I thanked her for letting me know and hung up. Steven stopped responding to her texts after I sent his wife screenshots of everything. Turns out cheating doctors don't like it when their side pieces become public knowledge. His wife filed for divorce within a week. My wife had gone from having to men to having none in the span of 5 days. She tried reaching me through mutual friends. She's devastated, they said. She made a mistake. I listened politely and asked if they'd want their spouse planning their disposal with someone else. Most of them got quiet after that. The ones who didn't weren't really friends anyway. Her sister called me angry. "You left her with nothing," she said. "She can't afford the apartment, she's failing school, and now everyone knows what happened." I reminded her that I'd left my wife with exactly what she'd earned, the consequences of her choices. Then I blocked her too. I started going to the gym at 5 a.m., not because I was angry or trying to prove anything, because I finally had time for myself. No more walking on eggshells around someone who was comparing me to their secret boyfriend. No more funding someone else's education so they could meet better men to replace me with. Work got easier when I wasn't stressed about going home to lies every night. I took on bigger projects, started networking with people who actually respected me. Got promoted within 4 months. Turns out I was good at my job, when I wasn't emotionally drained by someone who saw me as a temporary inconvenience. I started taking weekend trips with my dog. Nothing fancy. Just places I'd always wanted to see but never suggested because she'd complain about the cost or the accommodations. Turns out I actually enjoy hiking and small towns and eating at places chosen for their food instead of their Instagram potential. 8 months later, I ran into her at a grocery store. She looked rough, not just tired, but defeated. Like someone had dimmed all her lights. She tried to approach me, but I just finished my shopping and left. I heard through a mutual friend that she'd dropped out of nursing school and moved back in with her parents. The mutual friend also mentioned that she'd been telling people I'd abandoned her without warning and left her when she needed me most. Interesting version of events. I didn't correct it. The people who mattered knew the truth. The people who didn't matter could believe whatever helped them sleep at night. A year later, I'm seeing someone new, a teacher who splits the check without making it a political statement. She asks about my day because she actually wants to know, not because she's gathering information to use against me later. When she says she loves her job, her friends, her life, I believe her because her actions match her words. I never responded to any of my ex-wife's attempts to contact me. Not the calls, not the emails, not the letters she sent to my office. Not because I was trying to hurt her, but because I was protecting myself. Some people think that's cruel. I think it's survival. The truth is, I don't hate her anymore. I don't love her either. I nothing her. She's a stranger who used to live in my house and share my bed while planning my replacement with someone else. The best revenge isn't anger or bitterness. It's building a life so good that you forget why you needed revenge in the first place. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to play the game. She wanted drama, explanations, fights, and chances to manipulate the narrative. Instead, she got silence and consequences. I got peace and a future built on truth instead of lies. I sleep well at night now, and that's worth more than any apology she could have offered.